It's starting to get green outside. Still kind of dead up there, but some green's coming in. I don't know if I can get this, but there's some purple flowers over there. Yeah. I love spring. Hey guys, nice to see you again. It has been a crazy week for me and my writing team, but I do have some great news. Misty Falls Book 1, Paradox, is finished for the rewrite and ready for beta readers. Of course, there's still a lot of editing to do. I'm making the pages bleed that I've already printed, but it's a major step, and I am very proud of myself and my team, and I'm looking forward to the future. I will be beginning the process of storyboarding and gaming through book 2 soon with my writing team, which is great because that is the step that I'm going to be talking about today. Since the characters are already made, we can skip through the last video I made about character creation and start talking about what I'm on right now with Misty Falls Book 2. I like to start out the story making process with a little fun. It's important to me because a little frivolity and a little joy adds a certain je ne sais quoi to your writing. And the best part about this process is there is no stress, and it's mostly just having fun and creating a good story. This can be done on your own, but granted, it is more fun with friends. But alone, you don't have to worry about getting copyright permission for the characters, making sure all party members are on board with the novel, and crediting everyone properly. There's a lot of legal stuff that goes into writing a novel with a team that a lot of people don't realize, especially when you have a team as large as mine that can sometimes include people that leave the team for one reason or another due to breakups or children or life happenings. So getting permission and getting your legal ducks in a row is extremely important when working with a team. This step can be a role play, a tabletop game, a brainstorming session, even uh, like a group gaming session on a video game that you're going to change the storyline for later so that you just get your basic character actions. I've seen all of these done. I've done all of these, and for me, I prefer roleplay and tabletop gaming over video games. But for Misty Falls, I prefer brainstorming parties because it's not as high fantasy as what else I write and doesn't require that much rolling to find out what happens in, say, battle sequences and stuff. It's more about solving mysteries and talking to people and investigating. So with that, I tend to throw big brainstorming parties, but I would consider that to be the same step. It's just taking a different form of gaming to find the same solution. And when we do have big battle sequences that I don't know what would happen, we do have character sheets and we do roll out the battle sequences just like a tabletop game. We just don't bother with things like spot checks and stuff when we're just in regular conversation. This step is very important for me because it allows for silliness and mistakes and all sorts of things that come into the creation process that has no pressure when done as a game. I never skip this step. I find it to be extremely important to me, and I blame my upbringing since I was raised in a gaming family and introduced to Dungeons and Dragons at a very young age. So even if you don't like gaming per se, I still suggest you do something like a brainstorming session without any tension so you can get the handle of your storyboard and your characters without feeling the pressure. No one likes the pressure. I really don't think I'm the best person to be explaining the ins and outs of the 3 or 7x story structures because I've discovered I do it naturally without even thinking. And anything I've ever researched into this method has been quite useless for me because I just do it. But I do know Abby Emmons here on YouTube, I'll link her down below, has a great playlist on her channel that has a bunch of her videos describing the 3x story structure if you do want to know more about this step from someone who can explain it better than I can. Sometimes being born with special abilities comes with a downside in the sense that you can't really explain what you're doing to anyone. As I've mentioned before, I wrote a gaming system with my husband.
Yep.
My husband made all the battle systems and things dealing with numbers because I am terrible with math. And I wrote all the explanations, fluff, and formatted the book, got it out to all of our players slash writing team. The system is still in a testing phase, but we do hope to make it public someday. Next, I have to decide if the game is only going to comprise the people in my house or my entire writing team, which will greatly affect scheduling. Then, if it's the start of a story and the start of a campaign, I have a lot of work to do with picking music that fits the story and the mood I'm trying to set, world building, creating NPCs, making items people can buy, and making towns they can be in, and setting up the first few storylines that they will be dealing with, as well as figuring out the overarching villain or problem that they will be facing. I don't worry about too many details because as the story evolves, it will gain a life of its own, and too much planning can kill the breadth of the story. So I like to know the beginning and the end, and a little bit of maybe some big things that I know I want to have happen, but those things are usually not tied to a location. So no matter where the party goes, it'll still happen. Once I have all that, I zoom in to the first 3 or 4 games and really focus on their first villain or problem that they will be facing, their starting location, and finding ways to make sure I make the players care in the very beginning, because if I can make my players care, then I can in turn make my readers care when it is converted into a book or whatever media I want to do, because they're making some storylines that I want to turn into graphic novels someday. Now that I'm working on more digital art, a lot of windows have opened up for me that I can squeeze through. No doors yet, but I know how to use a good window. As I mentioned, I love to use music to set the mood. I'll also use different colored and intensity lighting, and sometimes we will have in-game feasts that are game appropriate recipes that really get people in the mood, and I have a nice set of D&D looking plates and cups that they can use. We very rarely wear costumes. Contrary to popular belief, we don't typically dress up for every D&D game. This is saved for special occasions like finales or reunions. And even then, most people don't dress up. I do, sometimes. Other times, I'll just not care, because this is a lot of work. We usually just look like this. I utilize my acting career to voice and act the NPCs, while my husband makes enemy decisions in battle. So we have a dual say in what all of the baddies are doing. As I said in my previous video, I allow my writing team and players to create their characters with me, giving them creative liberties over their characters' actions, appearance, character decisions, and ultimate fate, while still staying true to my guidelines for what I need in the story. Snacks and drinks are a must for the morale of the group. By far, the most important part of this step is the adventure log. If you keep a detailed log of every action that is done in your games, whether you're working alone or with friends, then you'll be able to use it in your storyboarding process that will come next, and not have to try to remember every little detail of what happened. Our brains can get things in the wrong order, it can mess things up, it can make things up. So keeping an adventure log every single time you do something new is critically important for the validity of your story. I like to reward my players by allowing them to write the adventure log in exchange for character experience, so I can work on the overall creation process while not having to worry about the recording process, while still making sure that it gets done. Once your campaign comes to an end and you're ready to start writing the story, you need to take a hard look at your adventure log. Compare it to the 3, 7, or whatever story act structure you like to use, and make sure it flows the way you want to. This is also the time to start looking at any silly or unrealistic parts of the plot or character reactions that can be tweaked or edited to be more realistic for the storyline and actually make sense for the book, because silliness can be left in the games. It's a good memory, but it's not always needed in your manuscript. At this time, you might want to find a notary or something to have your players and writing team sign some paperwork stating that you can use their characters in your work. Keep those in a special place, just in case you have a falling out with anyone and you need legal proof that they gave you permission to do this. It probably won't be necessary, and depending on where you are, you need to look into the laws of your region, but covering your bases legally at this stage before you start the storyboarding process and even pick up the book is very important. It will save you a lot of headache later on down the road should something go wrong. I am not qualified to give legal advice. I do not know anyone who is. Please make sure you do your own research if you are planning on working with a team, because I am not a reputable legal source for information. I'm just an author and an artist. I don't know anything about the law. So don't come yelling at me if it doesn't work, because your laws differ from what I have researched. Now again, you can do this alone. While having other people to play with is certainly more fun, it isn't necessary. The reason I prefer working with other people is the addition of the dice, the gaming system, and the other humans involved adds for a certain amount of spontaneity that I would not be able to plan for, that reflects real life more honestly than if I was just trying to work on it myself. And I really don't understand this whole idea that authors have to work on a novel start to finish by themselves and only get help in the editing process, while TVs and movies have entire boards of writers that get together to do exactly what I do, which is hash out the story and make sure everything fits and talk it out with a bunch of different people. I think there's a reason that TV has become so popular these days. Not only do people enjoy visual stimuli more, they also enjoy more complex stories that involve more people working on them. And I would like to see the stigma of authors being these lone wolves that don't need any help to make their works great, or else they're not good, to go in the garbage, because that's just not true. And what's scarier, a dragon with one head or a hydra with many heads that can replace its heads when they lose them? Now, while I do Misty Falls, Children of Ea, and my Withering of Edeon series with a team, I do have a storyline that I write by myself. It began as a bedtime story I started telling myself a few months ago to combat my bedtime anxious thoughts, and over time and the days, I actually really started enjoying it and created a lot of characters and surprised myself with how fun it was. And I wanted to make a series of short stories that I can later compile into a larger book, that I don't have to worry about anything. If it's tropey, it's tropey. If it's cliche, it's cliche. If it's over the top, it's over the top. I'm going to do anything that I find fun and funnel it into this storyline so I can express those more visceral parts of myself while still keeping it out of my more professional works. And at night I think about what could happen in the storyline, and during the day I roll out battle sequences and probabilities that I can't in bed while I'm trying to fall asleep. I hope to release these stories for free online. I haven't figured out where yet, and then once the series is done, I will release it in a compilation with more racy content added in to make it worth your penny. And I don't really like writing sexual adult content in my professional works. That's just not what Misty Falls is about. But I do still enjoy writing it, and the adult vampire romance audience is huge, including myself. I like to read it, I like to write it, and I would like to have a storyline where I can do these things without messing up Misty Falls. I feel like this isn't that informative. I guess it is, because I haven't met too many authors who use this fun step. It not only allows for multiple people to get together and work as a team and build the best story possible, it also starts everything off with a bit of lighthearted creation and fun, which I think is very important to the birthing process of a story. It stays in the undercurrents of the story forever, no matter how much you try to edit it out, and it gives it a life of its own. And I really like that, and I really hope I can start seeing more authors do this, because too many people stress about the beginnings of their novels How are they going to start? The storyboarding isn't going how they want. Is their character like this or that? Is anyone even going to like their story? All of these questions can be answered in the gaming step without the stress and pressure of immediately jumping into an entire novel or even an entire novel series like I'm trying to do. It is like having a safety net underneath a tightrope wire. And as you're doing these very difficult stunts, you know that if you make a mistake, no one's gonna know except your writing team, and they're there to help you anyway. Any mistake you can make in this step can be fixed, and it won't even be in your zero draft. It's also good for pantsers who don't like storyboarding. It is kind of like storyboarding, but in a more enjoyable way that takes the storyboarding out of it. So if you don't like storyboarding, this might actually be a good step for you. While I storyboard out the butt, some people don't like it. And adding in this gaming step can help you figure out exactly what you want to do in your story without feeling constrained by the rules and regulations and heavy burden of storyboarding and outlining. So pantsers, you should try gaming. So if you want a more comprehensive video on either the 3-act story structure, the 7-act story structure, or gaming, tabletop gaming, and its purposes and functional uses within a group setting and how to do it, let me know in the comments. I don't want to make it if people don't care. So let me know, and if you do, I will add it to my roster of videos to make, and if you don't, I won't. That's all I had on this topic, so let's move on to research fun. One of my more obscure hobbies is researching totally random things that have nothing to do with what I'm writing. And sometimes I find some scary gems like this one. The asteroid Apophis, named after the Egyptian snake god of chaos, has a chance to hit Earth in 2036 that may have a massive effect on life as we know it. I had an incredibly hard time finding a video explaining the rotation of Apophis and why it's named Apophis, but Wikipedia was here to help. It forwarded me to the NASA website where they had this to say. Apophis is named after the demon serpent who personified evil and chaos in ancient Egyptian mythology. This is important since Apophis seems to swirl and snake through space, coming straight for us. I will link that website down below. It's a pretty long article, but it's a fun read, and it has a lot of information on it if you are interested in this topic. I love Apophis. While I didn't find what I was looking for, I did find a few YouTube videos that were decent and didn't have the fear-mongering I found in a lot of the videos that I felt was unnecessary and took away from the actual fact of the matter. But these two videos worked. The first one is Asteroid Apophis, a complete documentary by Ray's Astrophotography. The second is an extinction-level asteroid impact with Neil deGrasse Tyson by Science Time. I will link both of those below as well. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button, and if you want to see more content from me, be sure to subscribe. Every other week I post on Saturdays, and every other Saturday I switch between talking about my writing and my paranormal life, but everything is tied together with my love of horror, which is what I write and do for a living. So I'll see you in 2 weeks, and I will be coming at you with some more I Was Raised in a Haunted House with Inhabitants Part 2, featuring my brother again. Thank you all. It's great to see you, and I hope to see you in the future. Bye. Oh yeah, it's time for some noodles.